They met as freshmen at Tufts University in 1991. And 3 decades later, the members of Guster are going strong, although a thing or two has changed over the years, adding marriage, kids, and a 4th band member to the mix. Their first mainstream hit was Fa-Fa, which they played at Woodstock '99, back when they were still babies themselves. Now they're about to release their 8th studio album with a bit of a different sound. It's called Look Alive. It's out this Friday. Adam Gardner, Ryan Miller, Luke Reynolds, and Brian Rosenworcel recently joined me to talk about that and gave us a little taste of some of the new music.
And I get overexcited, can't do a damn thing about it. My God, we're shoulder to shoulder, nice guy looking for a future lover.
Adam, Ryan, Luke, and Brian, it's good to see you. Thanks so much for being here, you guys. Is that for me or for whatever it is?
All of us.
So I consider you a Boston band, but let me see if I got this right. Maine, Vermont, Tennessee, Brooklyn. Are you a Boston band? Well, I mean, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, no, you did great.
But are you a Boston band?
Yeah, because what are we, a Maine, Tennessee? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
I mean, it's more just a practical. If we all lived in the same place, maybe we would change the thing. But this is our roots. This is the thing.
Is there a common thread? I mean, Peter Wolf was here a couple of weeks ago, who I love also. It was just right before he did his New Year's Eve thing up in Beverly. Obviously, another Boston. Is there a common thread through Boston bands and Boston players, or? I was talking to you. Why'd you look at him?
Oh, I don't know. You asking me?
What's the answer to that?
We love Jonathan Richman.
Oh, that's right. And by the way, there's a big debate, about whether or not his song should be the state song.
I know. I think I know a little bit.
Versus
I mean, he's a national treasure. Of course, he should be the state song.
But is there a common thread through Boston bands, or?
I always felt like we were an outlier. Yeah.
How so?
I don't know. We were never really kind of a part of any Boston scene. We just started touring nationally as soon as we graduated, and never really, felt like we connected with a lot of the bands that were being written about in the 90s when we started. I recently became friends with Kay Hanley from Letters to Cleo, though, and we're buds now. Hi, Kay.
I think actually they're right. So 1991 is when 3 of you, not you, Luke, you're a late add-on, 3 of you met at Tufts. George the Elder Bush was president. Today, he's not president, and it's a more divided place, a more worrisome place. Does that affect what you write and what you sing in the world? I mean, how much does that determine what's on your ACD?
It pretty much is our whole record, I think. Maybe more on accident. It wasn't really like I set out to write a record about it, but I think generally lyrically I look to existential stuff, like how am I feeling and how am I making my way in the world, and what's a universal thing that feels like people can get into this song with, and what is this song, how does it feel? And so it was all kind of in there, and I definitely have opinions and feelings about how everything's been playing out.
What would you say? What is this CD? I mean, every interview I've read, there have only been a couple about the new one yet, the 8th one, Look Alive, says it's different from whatever you did before. What is it exactly, Adam? What is this
I feel like every time we go out, we try to get that comment. We want it to be different every time.
But what is this one?
This one, it's interesting the way, he was speaking
Ryan
about the lyrics.
Is his name right there.
Yeah, that guy?
Yeah.
I think because of the context of what we made, I think lyrically it's definitely more so about what's happening around us than ever before. But I think musically, there's a lot of things. We made a record that was very much captured live in the studio, where we played as full band and took early takes and stuff like that. We're on our 7th record. On this one, we wanted a higher fidelity, more interesting sounding record, and wanted to play with all the toys and technology that's available, even though a lot of what we used was retro technology.
And did I read that you went to Calgary?
Calgary.
I mean, what is that about?
So we worked with a British producer named Leo Abrahams for the bulk of the record, and
he couldn't get a visa or something?
Actually,
is that really the
visa?
No, you're smart.
Sorry. And so that's why you're in Calgary?
So Canada, being the wonderful country that they are, you don't need a work visa to go and work there. So they just welcomed us with open arms. And long story short, friend of a friend is a recording studio architect. And he had recently finished this studio in the last couple of years and said they're getting ready to open it up as a commercial space. And we went up there and camped out. And It was wonderful.
Do you know you answered that question in a Canadian accent? You know, I was ready for you to say a boot in the middle of this thing. And in the middle of this thing, you sing with a British accent. When Marjorie Egan and I interviewed you, you couldn't answer the question as to why you did it. You've had more time to think about it. Do you have an answer now?
No. I mean, I don't know. Because our producer was British. I think I did answer it, though, because I had to play a character, and that seemed as far away from me in real life. It was a good answer.
It was a good answer.
Why are you needling me?
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Now, getting back to Leo, what's Leo's last name again?
Abraham.
Leo is quoted as saying this, I think, to you guys, maybe to the world too, about this CD, about this album. The world doesn't need another effing Beatles pastiche.
Oh, he did say that.
Wow, okay. So what does that mean? What was he saying to you guys?
That was a moment for us where we liked our like fluty mellotron sound as an intro, and he was so bored by it, and he like took this like kind of crazy like explosion from this 80s keyboard that sounded like Janet Jackson, and was like, this is how you get into this song. And we were like, huh.
Was there a lot of resistance from you guys?
Just one of us.
Who, you?
I resisted, but then a lot of Leo's stuff, if I resisted, I eventually came to where he was. So he was an amazing fifth collaborator in that he pushed our comfort zones in really important ways.
Can I tell you, I'm not in the band, but it does sound different to me from anything you've done before.
Well, we kind of came in with songs that you could play. Like, you know, we played Hard Times. It is a chorus and it chords and lyrics, and it could be a Guster song on the other 7 records. But where we went with it, where we were at, where Leo was at, it was like we were trying to push it really far texturally and sonically to kind of get really interesting bits. And Leo, he's a studio guitar player. Like, he's a composer. He's like, has these weird ways. So he was able to kind of help us spit things out and put them out and then have it serve musically the song, which is perfect. It's ideal. I mean, it was one of the most magical collaborations we've ever had.
How long have you been with these guys?
Almost 9 years.
Okay, 9 years. So you've been together, the 3 of you, 1, 2, 3, 27 years. How weird is that? That you work, I mean, really, that you work with people you've known for more than half of your, I know you know this already, more than half of your lives. Well, how odd? How odd? And,
it's weird.
But great is that? Is it great or?
It's great.
Is it great?
No, it is great because I think the thing that's kind of kept it going, and I think this is similar to what we're talking about with the albums being different and fresh for ourselves too every time, is the common thread is music. Like, I think when we got together, it wasn't said out loud, but there's always a feeling when we're going to sit down and make a record, if it's not happening, we're not making it. And so I think the thing that's kept us going every time is that we're all super excited about what we're still creating and still feel like we're improving.
Do you like does everybody like you? I mean,
no. I think we like
I'm serious. Does that matter?
But I mean, think about it.
I mean, your
we
family's
met when we were 18. I've known them longer than my wife. Like, I've known them longer than anybody, even friends from high school who I'm probably not even friends with. Like, it's even beyond brotherhood, because your brothers are just your genetics and it's fine. But we have to actively go and make stuff. And we're commenting on, like, what are you going to wear at Seth Meyers? And, oh, you're singing that. And you like that part? I mean, it's such a heavier relationship than anything you could ever figure out, which is why every functioning band is a barely functioning, dysfunctional band.
You know, speaking of what you're going to wear on Seth Meyers, I can't remember which of the 4 of you, but when you were with us on the radio 2 years ago, one of you had a sweater that had like 50 holes in it. Was it you?
Usually my clothes have holes in
And
it.
what was that? What was that about? I mean, you going to wear that on Seth Meyers or what?
We played on Letterman, and my mom saw it, and I was drumming, and I raised my hand, and there was a big old hole in the pit. She lost it. She was so upset.
It negated all the pride with you being on Letterman, was the fact you had a hole in your arm.
You looked like a homeless person.
So you're about to go out on tour with this thing. I mean, is there any anxiety about that, or are you guys all like totally in your own comfort zones? Yes?
I think there's like there's tech anxiety, because there's so many moving parts. There's so many like buttons that we have to press, and we have a new crew, and we're bringing a light show, and we're trying to figure out how to use projectors, and we have all these things we want to implement. So like, I am pretty self-assured that after the first 3 or 4 weeks, like, you know, you ramp up and it's all fear, and then eventually you get comfortable, and then that's the peak. And then after that, it's just like, oh, now we just know how to do it, and it all becomes muscle memory. So we're in the really scary stages of it as we try and put it together. I mean, what we were doing back there was really like, we've never done that before. So that's the kind of the fun part. And also, you know, just waiting to see what songs start to percolate and get, like, you know, how people start to receive the record is really interesting.
Can we end with one man's opinion, the only person who dressed up for this interview? It's a great, great album. I love it, and I wish you guys a lot of luck. It's great to see. What, he dressed up? I don't think so. It's great to see all 4 of you. Good luck, everybody. We love Guster. Take care. Thank you, guys. A great group. They were also kind enough to leave behind a very special gift. Guster Mustard, aptly named what else? Gustard. Their show this week at the House of Blues, by the way, is sold out. But if you want more, stick around till the end of this show for another performance. And again, you can get their new album. It's called Look Alive, starting this Friday.